What's up, guys? Hope you're having a great day today. Oh my god, this car. Oh my god, this car. It's amazing. And today, I'm here to tell you why it's such a great first car. So let's get started. Okay, so reason number one as to why the Audi TT is the perfect first car is that it is incredibly safe as a first car. And it's just an incredibly safe car in general. We have the side curtain airbags over here. We also have, you know, the traditional driver airbag, passenger airbag over there. We also have seat airbags, as you can see right there. Now, it's not activated right now because, you know, I'm not in an accident, but you can kind of see it in there because this car does have an issue where the seat actually, like the actual seat, and then the plastic piece right here tend to separate, but it still does ensure functionality. There's been nothing wrong with that. Presumably, knock on wood, or well, I guess knock on Audi, if something does happen, that will still go off if needed. But in total, there are about 8 airbags in this entire car. These two down here, these 2 up here, and then these 2 over here, I believe. Along with that, with this wing right here, this shows a lot of increased safety. Originally, with the first gen Audi TT, these cars have been known to have issues where, because it was such a sleek beam-like design, what would happen on the first gen cars without a wing there is that essentially if you were doing somewhere around 70 or so miles an hour, 70 to 77 miles an hour, if you went to go switch lanes, then you could risk basically flipping over and having an issue right there. On the first gen TTs, they kind of just slapped a little wing onto that, but then on the second to third gen TTs, up till I want to say about 2018, they had an active aero solution, which is this right here, where at 77 miles an hour, the wing will automatically deploy, or in this case, you can also manually deploy the wing yourself. But under no circumstance can you disable the wing and bring it down at over 77 miles an hour, ensuring another level of safety and stability. We also have these really nice bucket seats right here. These keep you planted in your seat very well, even more than economy cars or anything like it. Which may not sound like much, but in a safety circumstance, it kind of does make sense. There's a reason why NASCARs and cars like that have really deep bucket seats. It's to keep the driver in place. And this car is the same way. One of the common issues that I run into with my Tesla Model Y and my Honda Clarity is that I find myself slipping around a lot in the seat and not having much planted, which can be a pain in the butt whenever I'm on like a back road or a road with a lot of turns. Versus in this car, if we come take a seat inside, I don't move around as much. This car, I can stay planted in the center and not have to focus on, you know, staying in the center, and I can just focus on driving. Now, I am gonna make a point that I probably should have made earlier, and that is that I know this car is a little bit expensive, coming in at $20,000 for one of these things, or like right around $20,000 for a used one of these things. But ultimately, that is not the worst price I have seen on a first car. A lot of my friends, they've picked up brand new Civics and brand new Corollas as their first cars. And I've seen those cars run a lot more money than $20,000. I know somebody who paid $26,000 for a Corolla. I've seen somebody pay, I think in the 30s, for a Corolla for a 17-year-old. I have seen a lot of my friends in brand new Civics that will run more than $20,000. My point is that yes, I know these cars can be a little bit expensive, but at the same time though, these cars also do run a lot less than the brand new alternatives that are common for first cars, such as Toyota Corollas and Honda Civics. And that brings me to my second point, which is price. The Audi TT is starting to fall a lot in value. These were once $50,000 cars with the latest and greatest technology and safety features. Nowadays, these cars are running $20,000 with tech and safety features that are only starting to make their way to economy cars. A good example of this is digital gauge clusters. This generation of Civics, yes, and the previous generation, they both have digital gauge clusters, but none of them run as smoothly as something like this. I have a digital gauge cluster system in my 2018 Honda Clarity. It's not the most configurable thing out there. It's a little bit configurable, I'll admit, but I feel like my Audi TT has a more configurable gauge cluster system. And I've driven a few brand new Civics to know that the newer infotainment systems, they're not the best out there. They're not the worst either, I will say, but I still kind of like the one in the Audi a bit better. A few of my friends in brand new Corollas, I mean, I don't even know if they have digital gauge cluster systems like this one has. But I don't know why I'm getting caught up in digital gauge cluster systems. It's because there's a lot more things that can go between Civics and Corollas versus this TT. But to summarize, I do think that for $20,000 and depreciating, actually, these cars are depreciating versus something like a Civic, Corolla, those cars run a premium a lot of times. Versus this car, it is depreciating in value. I've seen these cars fall into the 19s, and I have seen these cars fall sub 20. My car being a little bit of an exception, I think I did pay a little bit of a premium, but ultimately I think I paid a pretty good deal regardless of that. Now, I know a lot of people are gonna say, oh, but the repair bills are gonna be horrible on these cars. And my honest response to that is point number 3, and that is that these cars are decently reliable in my honest opinion. And the reason I say that is because of the fact that if we open the hood on my TT, we can see that it is powered by a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, which, as I mentioned in previous videos, is basically Volkswagen Group's everything engine. This, in my opinion, would be very similar to the way how a lot of parents will buy their kids something with the Toyota 3.5-liter V6 in it, such as maybe the Lexus RC350. I've seen a few cases of that. But more commonly, a Lexus IS with the 3.5 V6 in it. Those cars, they run on Toyota's platform. This is a similar way to that. In the same way that Lexus is owned by Toyota, Audi is owned by Volkswagen Group. Yes, there's an Audi badge on this cover, but ultimately underneath it is a Volkswagen engine. This is the same engine that they'd use in like a Jetta. So in the same way that like a Lexus RC350 is powered by the same V6 from a Toyota Camry, this is the same way with that. This is basically, in my honest opinion, Audi's version of the RC350, except, you know, it uses a 2-liter turbo 4 rather than a 3.5 V6. I kind of went a bit off topic on that, but my ultimate point is that it says Audi, yes, but ultimately this is just Volkswagen parts. And in the same way that a Lexus is just Toyota parts. Now, is that perfect logic? Definitely not. But I think that the logic does carry over to the engine in this car. And speaking of the engine of this car, I have to say that is another reason as to why I think that this car is a definite good first car. And that's the fuel economy in this thing. I've gotten somewhere in the neighborhood of basically, I'd want to say 28, and then on some days 38 miles a gallon out of this car. And on top of that, this car uses 87. So in other words, if you were to get your kid like an SUV, that would probably run them somewhere around 25 miles a gallon, depending on the size. If you get them a minivan, that's like 21 miles a gallon. And all 3 cars take 87. So you can get somewhere around, I want to say 30 miles a gallon if you're nice with this car, and you don't have to pay as much. So in other words, the cost of fuel for an Audi TT will be less than Honda Odysseys, Honda Pilots, and a Toyota Highlander, all of which I have seen as fairly common first car options. I saw them a lot when I was in high school, and I saw them a lot when I was in college. Along with that, before I had my BMW Z3, I would drive around my parents' 2004 Honda Odyssey everywhere. Now, the next point that I have as to why this is a great first car is that, and this is kind of a 2-for-1 option, and that's that it's a great looking car that isn't extremely fast. I feel like a lot of young people, especially myself, if I'm being very honest with you, they want beautiful looking cars. They want nice looking cars. I mean, I have seen a lot of people, you know, dreaming of GT3 RSs, R8s, Gallardos, Huracans, that type of thing. And obviously, no one's gonna get any of those cars as their first cars. Even older cars, I mean, obviously Gallardos run $100,000, but a 996 911 will run you somewhere around $20,000. But again, no one is gonna get their kid a 996 911 as their first car because of the power. Now, that brings me to the second half of my point here, and that is that this car, it's not the most powerful thing in the world. It's not going to be, you know, knock your socks off fast. It's going to be decently fast in my opinion. A good comparison point on this is some of the first cars I've seen people I know have. Acura TSX and Infiniti G35. Both of those cars could smoke my TT, or maybe not smoke my TT, but line up with my TT in terms of performance. But out of the 3 cars, this is the nicest looking car in my honest opinion. The lines just work so much better on this, and it makes it so recognizable. Now, obviously, mine has a few appearance modifications, but even if you were to take the stickers and that thing off, this is still a very noticeable car, and it's still very recognizable, and just, in my opinion, overall, just really beautiful. It takes so many great styling cues from other great Audi cars, and it just makes it its own, and it makes it very unique and very beautiful as a result of that. What I'm trying to say though is that this car is a car that is very sleek, very beautiful, but at the same time not the most powerful thing in the world. So you get the exotic car looks, without the exotic car performance, which is good for a first car owner. I don't know anybody who would trust their kid with something like a GT3 RS or a V10 R8, but I can't think of a lot of people who will trust their kid with a 220 horsepower engine that is still less powered than something like a G35 or a TSX. Typically, I would consider that to be a very bad selling point, that it's very underpowered compared to rivals, but in this instance, I think it works. And part of the reason I think that it works is because of the fact of the final reason, and that is that this car is a lot of fun to drive. Like, yes, 220 horsepower is not a lot, but I've had more fun driving my TT than I have an Infiniti G35, an Acura TSX, a Civic. All of these cars, yes, they are first car options, but they're not that fun. They're not as engaging, and they're just not really the best for fun, in my opinion. Ultimately, this car serves as just a very well-rounded first car that can do everything decently well, but not amazingly well. Now, this car is a four-seater, yes, which is good, but the back seats, I mean, you can't really, yeah, there's not much room back there, which you can count as a good thing, I guess, for a first driver, because of the fact that, I mean, they can only fit maybe one other person, and so they can't get distracted by their friends as much. The same story is with the powertrain. 220 horsepower, that's decently fast, but it's not the fastest thing I've seen out there. But there are definitely a lot more cars that are more engaging than something like the TT. My BMW Z3 being an example of that. This car has a lot of great aspects to it in that it does make it a good daily driver. It also has a lot of great aspects that makes it a great fun car in general. I have to say, this car is very well rounded and can do a lot of things decently well, but isn't, you know, a performance monster, but it's also not, you know, an SUV. It's none of that, but it's its own beast because of how well-rounded it is, in my opinion. I also just realized I completely forgot to mention the trunk. The trunk alone on this Audi TT, in my opinion, it just does so much because of the fact that, I mean, hello, this thing is huge, man. It's ginormous. Now, obviously, I'm coming from a BMW Z3 saying that, but still, it is huge back here. Like, in my opinion, I've compared this to my 2015 Toyota Prius that we had, and I think that this is about the size of that. That one may have been a slight bit bigger, but I think when you can put the seats down that nobody realistically will use, that's when it gets to the point of this thing is huge. Keep in mind, I moved my entire apartment out in this car. But on that practical note, I think today's video is in fact over. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Quick thing before I do wrap up, I did want to say this real quick. Everyone is going to be different. Everyone's going to say that something else is a great first car. The people who I mentioned with Civics, they think that their Civic is a great first car, and that is a completely fine opinion to have. This is just my dumb opinion as an Audi TT owner. This is actually my second car. My first car, a lot of people may say was a great first car, but I'm not sure. I think that this car, in my personal opinion, will serve as a great first car. But like I said, this is just the dumb opinions and dumb ramblings of somebody who happens to have an Audi TT. But yeah, if you disagree, let me know in the comments below. If you agree, let me know in the comments below. And if you want to just give some random opinion, let me know that in the comments below. And if you like what you're seeing, leave subscribe. And just like that, I'm out. The camera is overheating, so I gotta finish this video quick. Peace.